So this is an instructional video for folks who take my classes on how to throw a cylinder. It's the way I throw a cylinder. It's not the only way to throw a cylinder. So there's lots of videos out there, and I would take a look at people who are probably far better throwers than I am on how to throw a cylinder. But I'm just trying to put the steps down so anyone who wants to review them can review them. First thing I did is I just centered some clay, and I flattened it out to about the base that I want to start with on the cylinder. And I know as I bring the cylinder in, it's going to get skinnier, so I'm kind of a little bit wider than what I want the eventual product to be. So I can find the center of my pot, and then I'm just going to go down to the base. And if you are worried about going all the way down to the bat head, stop and get your pin tool and just stick it in there, stick your finger down and bring it up and see where you are. I could go down a little bit further. What you guys are hearing is Treya, our studio cat, and she's very chatty in the morning. No, there she is, coming up to investigate what's going on. So now I'm going to just open this pot. So there's two ways to open. You can put your two fingers here, a thumb here, and you can just start pushing out. And that's a really good way to keep control if you're afraid things are gonna go off center. Does two things. No, we don't want to drink that. Two things. It keeps things on center, and it pretty much guarantees you a flat bottom. But if you want, you can also, so the other way to bring out your pot is to take your sponge, your two fingers, you're gonna go down. I'm gonna press my fingers towards me, towards my belly button basically, as the wheel's going around. And when I get it out to kind of the width I want it, I'll start compressing the bottom by just going back and forth with my sponge. And then I usually will do a final compression with the triangle tool. So I'll just go back. I'm not pushing super hard either. I'm letting the wheel do the work. And once I feel pretty happy with that, I'm gonna keep my work surface neat, because when you're doing a cylinder, especially when you're first starting, you wanna keep everything neat and keep your clay under control. So before I even do a pull, I'm gonna put my hands over the edge of this. I'm gonna put this hand kind of curled around. I'm just gonna push the whole thing towards center. And that's just gonna help us keep control as we're bringing it up. And if you notice, it's now going kind of this way. And when I'm throwing cylinders, that's what I want. Until I start shaping, I really want it to keep coming up towards center. So my first pull is a claw pull. You could do a knuckle pull, which is where you take your knuckle and two fingers and come up like this. But I take my three fingers, put them inside, and my thumb is out here on this little ridge. So it's like this. This hand's just resting on the rim. So I'm gonna put my fingers down there, and I'm just gonna pull it up. And I tend to get a good portion of my height doing that. And then when I come to the top, I'm just gonna smooth the rim. And then I'm gonna neaten everything up again before I do my next pull. I'm gonna get the water out of my pot, make a little ridge of the clay that I wanna bring in. And then I'm gonna put two fingers inside the pot on the base of the pot where the floor meets the wall. And then I'm gonna have two fingers outside the pot right here under this little ridge that I created. So I wanna actually move that clay. So I'm gonna be pushing this clay in and up with this hand, and I'm gonna be pushing the clay out with that hand. And that's how I get the wall to be created. So I'm just gonna do a slow pull. And then when I get to the top, I'm gonna go over the rim. And if it's gone out at all, you can just collar it in. And I don't throw with a ton of water, so I'm just collaring it in. And the reason I don't throw with a ton of water is it tends to weaken the clay and then I lose control over it. Down here, Treya, what is your problem? What's your problem? You're very talkative this morning. And again, pushing out from the inside and in from the outside, and I want to lift this little ring of clay. And then when we get to the top, I'll just go over, or you can compress the rim with your fingers. And then I'll probably bring this in a little bit because it's come out just a little bit. And then if you need to, just straighten everything up by doing a pull with your rib. So my rib's on the outside, my fingers are on the inside. And then I'm going to do another pull because I can still feel there's quite a bit of clay down there. So I'm going to dig my sponge in and make sure that I've got a wet surface. So I'm just going to put some water on there. And then I'm just going to start pulling that clay up. And so it's starting to feel thinner up at the top, so I'm probably not going to do a lot of pulling when I get up to here. But I am going to finish the pull and just go over the edge. And then I will just lubricate these again. Dig in down here. And pull that last bit of clay in. One thing in the class I taught this week is you don't have to push in or out super hard, and a lot of folks can tear a pot if they do that. So you're letting the wheel do the work and your hands are just kind of working in concert. When I get up to the top, I always kind of touch my thumb just to get everybody talking to each other again. And I've been throwing tall bottles, so that's probably what this guy will become. So I will do a last check and see how much clay I have down here. And I can tell the top is undulating just a little bit, so I'm just going to take my pin tool and just take a little bit of that clay off, but not lose too much of it. And then I'll just soften the edge and work on the bottle. So hope this helped in figuring out how to throw a cylinder. And I would probably just throw as many cylinders as you can and throw them until they collapse. because that's the easiest way. And make sure you go back in every once in a while and just don't do a pressure pull, just kind of feel the clay and see how much clay you've got along the way. It should feel like about 1/4 of an inch the whole way. And then eventually you might want to start cutting through the cylinders just to check your wall thickness and see if you've got clay down here. But if you do have clay down here, it's not a huge deal. You can trim that out. So hope this helped. Thanks for watching.